Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Prashant Kumar Sinha and with me is Renuka, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India suspends international passenger flights till the 30th of June in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. New Delhi rebuffs international daily reports claiming gaps in reporting of COVID-related deaths, terms reporting completely false and baseless. GST Council decides to exempt levies on import of coronavirus relief material till the 31st of August. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds meeting with U.S. National Security Advisor on wide range of issues including Indo-Pacific. UNHRC approves resolution to investigate violence in recent conflict between Israel and Hamas. Bashar al-Assad re-elected as president of Syria for the fourth term, and Amit Panghal storms into finals of Asian Boxing Championship in Dubai. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, to follow all precautions, and all those who have taken the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine to get vaccinated with the second dose at the scheduled time. Stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. Now the news in detail. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation, DGCA, today said that suspension of scheduled international passenger flights has been extended till the 30th of June in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. In a circular, the aviation regulator said international scheduled flights may be allowed on selected routes by the competent authority on a case-to-case basis. The DGCA said the suspension does not affect international all-cargo operations and flights specifically approved by it. Scheduled international passenger flights have been suspended in India since the 23rd of May last year due to the coronavirus pandemic, but special international flights have been operating under the Vande Bharat mission since May of last year. Special international flights have also been operating under bilateral air bubble arrangements with selected countries since July of last year. India has formed air bubble pacts with around 27 countries. The centre has rebuffed a speculative media report published in an international English daily claiming huge gaps in reporting of COVID-related deaths in India. The Health Ministry termed the report to be completely false and baseless, adding that the country is using a robust mechanism to record COVID-related deaths from the very beginning of the pandemic. It said that in fact many deaths which are happening due to comorbid conditions in people affected with the coronavirus are also classified under COVID-related deaths.
This is just an assumption and a feeling of some people, and therefore this is something which should have been not published, particularly in so-called prestigious newspapers. We have a strong mortality tracking system which has stood the test of time. Our sample registration system is respected the world over.
The Ministry of External Affairs has hailed WHO's decision of convening a global study on the origin of COVID. Ministry spokesman said in a statement that it is an important first step. The statement stressed the need for next phase studies as also for further data and studies to reach robust conclusions. It further said the follow-up of the WHO report and further studies deserve the understanding and cooperation of all. Earlier, the World Health Organization investigators visited a research center in the Chinese city of Wuhan that has been the subject of speculation about the origins of the coronavirus. The report of the investigating team on their Wuhan field visit from 14th of January to 10th of February 2021 was published on the 30th of March. After that, WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus had called for further studies. The report stems from a member state resolution adopted by consensus at the World Health Assembly in May 2020 and calling on WHO to identify the zoonotic source of the virus and the route of introduction to the human population. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday has asked American intelligence agencies to redouble their efforts to analyze the origins of COVID-19 to determine whether it emerged from human-animal contact or via a laboratory accident. With this, Mr. Biden adds significantly to the growing pressure on China to be more open about the origins of SARS-CoV-2 virus, an outbreak of which was seen first in early 2020 in the Chinese city of Wuhan. India has been receiving international cooperation of COVID-19 relief medical supplies and equipment since over a month from different other countries and organizations. The centre has informed that these supplies are being promptly delivered to the states and UTs. Union Health Ministry has said that so far over 18,000 oxygen concentrators, 19,000 oxygen cylinders, 19 oxygen generation plants, nearly 15,000 ventilators and BiPAPs have been received in the country as foreign aid. It added that in terms of medical supplies, the country has also received nearly 770,000 vials of remdesivir and over 12 lakh favipiravir tablets. In the last 2 days, over 690 ventilators and BiPAPs and 10 oxygen concentrators have been received from Canada, Germany and Bahrain.
The Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry has said that more than 1,84 lakh COVID vaccine doses are still available with states and union territories to be administered to beneficiaries. The ministry has said the central government has provided over 22,46 lakh COVID vaccine doses to states and union territories so far. Of this, the total consumption of doses, including wastages, is over 20,48 lakh. The ministry has assured that 3 lakh vaccine doses will be provided to states and UTs within the next 3 days. The Union Health Ministry has said that vaccination is a crucial pillar in the fight against the coronavirus, and the third phase of COVID-19 vaccination has already started in the country. It said the central government has been facilitating direct procurement of vaccines by the states and union territories. India's daily COVID recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for the 15th consecutive day. Over 2,59,000 patients recovered from the coronavirus disease within the past 24 hours. The recovery rate further improved to 90.34% in the country. So far, over 2,48 lakh patients have already recovered from this infectious disease. The Health Ministry said that the country is registering a significant decline in active caseload amid the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic. It said the country registered a decrease of over 76,000 active cases in the last 24 hours. At present, there are over 23 lakh active cases in the country. More than 1,86,000 new cases were registered in the past 24 hours. A total of 3,660 deaths were reported in the past 24 hours.
The GST Council has exempted import of amphotericin B used for treating black fungus from levy of IGST. Briefing media after the meeting, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the Council had a very detailed discussion on COVID-related equipment in its meeting today. Several issues relating to it were raised and discussed. The Finance Minister said GST Council has decided to waive IGST on free COVID-19 related supplies imported from abroad. So far, the IGST exemption was available only when the relief items were being imported free of cost. This exemption has been extended till 31st of August.
The Council has decided to exempt the import of relief items even if they are purchased, if these are meant for donating to the government or on recommendation of the state authority to any relief agency. Also, this exemption has been extended till 31st August 2021. So far, the IGST exemption was available only when you were importing free of cost. This exemption also has been extended to 31/8/2021. With the rising cases of black fungus, a particular medicine which is required for it called amphotericin B has also been included into the exemption list.
The Finance Minister said 4,500 crore rupees were paid to 2 vaccine manufacturers as advance payment. She added that the country is engaging with suppliers and manufacturers, including from Japan and European Union, for vaccines. She said supply will increase in the coming months. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on outcomes of the 43rd GST Council meeting. In conversation are Sharad Kohli, economic analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR correspondent.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today chaired the 43rd GST Council meeting via video conferencing. This meeting was held after a gap of 7 months. What is the significance of this meeting held amid the ongoing pandemic, Sharad?
Good evening, Sonu, and good evening to all the listeners. I think a very, very significant meeting in the backdrop of what the country is going through right now. An unprecedented health crisis in the country, followed by lockdowns, which has brought the economic activity to almost a standstill, if not a total standstill. I think are very, very relevant. And when there's so many things in this country which people are hearing for the first time, oxygen concentrators. This was not a common man language, Now we see everybody talking about oxygen concentrators, and people are talking of remdesivir, people are talking of so many things. So I think there was a need for GST Council to meet and decide injections being imported, injections being distributed by private hospitals, public hospitals, NGOs. I think there was utter confusion on the taxation, and taxation, indirect taxation is a very substantial part of the pricing of these items. And in a situation when the country is going through pandemic, people's incomes are under pressure, people's savings are under pressure. I think every rupee matters, and that is the backdrop in which GST Council meeting has been held. And I think every rupee saved by way of reduction in GST or an exemption in GST, or even a relief given to the traders. Let's not forget there are about 1.25 crore plus GST registered traders. So I think any and every kind of relief in the backdrop of this situation is extremely significant, which is why this meeting was so much being looked forward to.
Sharad, you talked about COVID. I mean, that is the issue which is uppermost at everybody's mind. Now, with the revenue expected to decline due to the second wave of the ongoing pandemic, the extending various benefits for the import or production of COVID-related material was a very important factor. So, what measures have come in this direction?
I think the exemption being enjoyed by especially some of the drugs and injections being imported from abroad, whether it is for mucormycosis or it is for COVID directly. I think the IGST, as our listeners must be aware, that when you import something from outside India, you are supposed to be paying an IGST, which is called the integrated GST. Which is to be paid, it's on at the time of import you pay that. Of course, you can claim the input tax credit later. But then I think that exemption has been extended up to 31st August. You can keep importing them. But the condition there, Sonu, which has been laid is that it should be imported, even if you're purchasing it by center, states or NGOs who are distributing it free of cost. So you cannot be a commercial organization and importing it and then claiming the exemption. So care has to be taken that if you're into philanthropy, you're distributing it free, or center state is doing it, and IGST exemption remains on your imports on these injections. And there are a lot of other items, black fungus injection, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's amphotericin, something like that. So on that drug, also the exemption sustained. So I think it's a very welcome step, because when you are into philanthropy, especially the NGOs, when they distribute, obviously you are dealing in charitable money or public funds, then you want their import cost to be minimal to be able to distribute free of cost.
As you rightly said, amphotericin B, which is required for treating mucormycosis, on that the IGST has been exempted till 31st August 2021. Now, this month the Finance Minister had said on this topic that exempting domestically produced and commercially imported items from GST would make manufacturers unable to avail input tax credit, which in turn could lead to higher prices for consumers. So you feel that this is the right decision which has been taken of not going in for exemption on domestic production and commercially imported items?
Well, Sonu, at the outset, I would like to apprise our listeners that, a group of ministers has been formed, and, by 8th of June, they will be deciding on what items to be reduced, and, the exact fitment of rates has been left to these group of ministers. So within the next 10 days, they would be submitting the report. But to help our listeners understand, because there were a lot of people who were asking that, how come, what is this mathematics that your rate goes down and the input cost goes up? I think this is something which a common man needs to understand, that you get input tax credit. If you exempt an item, then you cannot claim input tax credit, which means that the cost of production for the manufacturer or the person who's supplying increases. I mean, he cannot claim that ITC. So once you are allowed to claim the ITC, even if there is a 5%, let's say, GST charge, your ITC may be more than that. So you will be able to subsidize the price. So this is the mathematics which I think people need to understand. Only somebody who knows how GST works. I tried my best to explain as to how the whole process works. But then, yes, I think the group of ministers are going to submit the report. I have no doubt, Sonu, that in the given scenario, why the group of ministers would not consider reduction of rates, whatever is 12% maybe brought down to 5%, whatever is 18% maybe again brought down. I have a feeling that 5% may be a pegged rate, but there is one more option that they have.
As far as the small taxpayers go, we'd like to tell you that in order to provide relief to the small taxpayers, Amnesty scheme has been recommended for reducing late fees payable. This will benefit around 89% of GST taxpayers. They can now file their pending returns and avail benefits of scheme with reduced late fees. Also, annual return filing will continue to be optional for 2020-21 for small taxpayers with turnover less than rupees 2 crore. Reconciliation statements for 2020-21 to be furnished by taxpayers with turnover of rupees 5 crore or more. Now, this is a very important development which affects a lot of GST taxpayers, and also GST tax paying has been simplified. That is something that the council has been working on ever since GST was launched on July 1, 2017. Progressively, the filing of returns has been made more and more simpler. The process of simplification is a dynamic and ongoing process. And right now, when the COVID problem is there, and as it is, the businesses are under a lot of stress, efforts are being made to make life easier for small taxpayers. We are again reconnected with Sharadji. What do you have to say about the provisions which have been brought about to give relief to small taxpayers?
I think for small taxpayers, Sonu, the current provisions where a small taxpayer who's got turnover up to 2 crores need not file his annual return. I mean, it's optional. So I think that is going to continue. Then the filing of the reconciliation statement for taxpayers who are up to 5 crore, that will also continue. And I think some kind of relief, we need to keep in mind that the GST Council meeting has just about finished, I would say, a few minutes ago.
Yes.
And the press briefing happened. So, as they say, the devil lies in the details. So, we'll probably have to look at it a little more minutely, be able to figure out as to what exactly. But primarily, I think the broad statement which has come out says that in future also for the small taxpayers, penalties would be eased for the times to come. That is what it says. So I think we need to look at the finer details to see if anything has been done for the period which has already gone by. I think for the small taxpayers, GST, as compared to when it came in 2017, is now a lot more innocuous. It looks very easy, simple to comply. The original wording of, I remember good and simple tax, I think it's coming out to be true as with the flux of time.
Thank you so much for this discussion, Mr. Sharad. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
India has expressed strong opposition to the unwarranted references made with respect to the Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir by the President of the United Nations General Assembly, Volkan Bozkir, during his recent visit to Pakistan. In response to media queries on the remarks, MEA spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said Volkan Bozkir's remarks that Pakistan is duty-bound to raise this issue in the UN more strongly are unacceptable. He said, nor indeed is there any basis for comparison to other global situations. Mr. Bagchi said when an incumbent president of the UN General Assembly makes misleading and prejudiced remarks, he does great disservice to the office he occupies. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has held a meeting with U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. They held wide-ranging discussions, including on the Indo-Pacific and Afghanistan. Dr. Jaishankar conveyed appreciation for U.S. solidarity in addressing the COVID challenge. He said India-U.S. vaccine partnership can make a real difference. The minister, who is on a 5-day visit to the U.S., also met U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said the two countries' trade, technology and business cooperation are at the core of strategic partnership, and enhancing them is vital to post-COVID economic recovery. He also welcomed her stance on IPR issues and support for efficient supply chains. The minister also met Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines. In a tweet, he said he looks forward to working closely together to address contemporary security challenges and advance India-US strategic partnership. The UN Human Rights Council has voted to investigate violence in the recent conflict between Israel and Hamas. The body approved the resolution brought by a group of Islamic countries by 24 votes to 9. The United States has said the decision threatened to endanger progress in bringing calm to the region. At least 242 people were killed in Gaza and 13 were killed in Israel during 11 days of fierce fighting that ended with an Egyptian-brokered truce. The text of the resolution brought by the Organization of Islamic Conference (OIC) and the Palestinian delegation calls for a permanent commission of inquiry to be set up to report on rights violations in Israel, the West Bank and Gaza. 9 members, including several Western countries, voted against the resolution and another 14 abstained. China and Russia were among those voting in favor.
Bashar al-Assad will continue to serve as the president of Syria after winning the election for the 4th time. Assad, 55, has been president since 2000. He succeeded his late father Hafez, who had ruled Syria for more than a quarter of a century before that. Syria's opposition called the vote a farce, while the US and European countries said it was not free or fair election. Syria has been devastated by a decade-long conflict, and the fighting has left at least 388,000 people dead and caused half the population to flee their homes, including almost 6 million refugees abroad. The election was held in government-controlled areas of the country and in some Syrian embassies overseas. Germany has officially acknowledged today that it committed genocide during its colonial-era occupation of Namibia. The country also announced a financial support gesture. It's the first time that Berlin has recognized the atrocities committed, with the declaration coming after 5 years of negotiation. Foreign Minister Heiko Maas today acknowledged the killings as genocide. In a statement, Foreign Minister Heiko Maas said that a gesture of recognition of the immeasurable suffering Germany caused, it would set up a fund amounting to $1.34 billion. German colonizers killed tens of thousands of Herero and Nama people there in the early 20th century massacres. Meanwhile, Namibian government spokesperson told that Germany's recognition was a step in the right direction.
The United Nations honored 8 fallen peacekeepers from Bangladesh posthumously with the Dag Hammarskjöld Medal. Bangladesh permanent representative to the UN Ambassador Rabab Fatima received the award on behalf of Bangladesh at a virtual ceremony on the occasion of the International Day of UN Peacekeepers held at the UN headquarters on Thursday. 124 fallen peacekeepers from 44 nations received the award for laying down their lives during peacekeeping operations in 2020. Out of the 8 Bangladeshi peacekeepers who lost their lives, 4 were killed in the Congo, 2 in the Central African Republic, and 1 each in South Sudan and Mali. In Nigeria, 30 bodies have been pulled from a river where a boat carrying more than 150 passengers sank. Authorities said only 20 people could be rescued when the ferry traveling between Niger and Kebbi State in the northwest broke into 2 pieces. Yusuf Birma, head of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, in Kebbi State, told media that 30 bodies have so far been recovered. Some reports said the boat had been carrying up to 200 people, mostly women and children. Today is Amnesty International Day. Amnesty International was founded in London in 1961 following the publication of the article The Forgotten Prisoners in The Observer on the 28th of May 1961 by lawyer Peter Benison. Citing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights Articles 18 and 19, it announced a campaign on appeal for Amnesty 1961 and called for common action. Amnesty International is a non-governmental organization focused on human rights with over 3 million members and supporters around the world.
The Sensex today gained 0.6% amid positive global cues. The rupee appreciated 15 paise against the US dollar. A report.
The Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange climbed 308 points to close at 51,423. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange also added 98 points, a 0.64% to settle at 15,436. In global equity markets, Asian stocks gained on track for a fourth straight month of gains. Japan's Nikkei 225 surged 2.1%, South Korea's Kospi climbed 0.7%, and Singapore's Straits Times Index gained 0.4%. On the other hand, Hong Kong's Hang Seng ended almost flat, and China's Shanghai Composite Index fell 0.2%. European shares were also up in intraday trade. Oil prices rose as strong U.S. economic data and expectations of a rebound in global demand outweighed concerns about more supply from Iran. In intraday trade, Brent crude prices were trading around $69.70 per barrel. Back home, gold prices fell 180 rupees amid stronger rupee and a fall of gold prices in the international bullion markets. At the multi-commodity exchange, gold was trading at 48,400 rupees per 10 grams. Silver prices also declined 620 rupees to trade at 71,100 rupees per kilogram when reports last came in. And in the foreign exchange market, the rupee appreciated 15 paise to finish at 72 rupees and 44 paise against the US dollar. Arjun Chaudhary for World News, All India Radio.
Defending champion Amit Panghal in 52 kg category has stormed into the finals of Asian Boxing Championship in Dubai. The top seed outclassed his opponent Kazakhstan's Saken Bibosinov 5-0 in a display of his masterclass. Earlier, six-time world champion MC Maricom stormed into the final of the women's 51 kg category Asian Boxing Championships in Dubai. She registered a 4-1 win against Mongolia's Lata Saiha Altan Sepsek to face Kazakhstan's Nazim Kaizabay in the final. Defending champion Amit Panghal and Shiva Thapa reached the Asian Boxing Championship finals in Dubai with resounding victories in the last four stages today. While Panghal outpunched familiar foe Saken Bibosinov of Kazakhstan 5-0, Thapa, the first Indian boxer in the tournament history to secure 5 medals, dominated top-seeded defending champion Bahadur Usmanov of Tajikistan.
Now let us take a look at major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The New York Times writes Biden to propose $6 trillion budget to make U.S. more competitive. The newspaper also says prosecutors are investigating whether Ukrainians meddled in the U.S. 2020 elections. The Washington Post says renewed focus on Wuhan lab scrambles the politics of the pandemic. The Guardian reports that the number of EU citizens refused entry to the UK soars despite COVID crisis. The newspaper also cites Greece and Spain to trial EU COVID travel certificate. South Korea fears winter virus surge. Sydney Morning Herald writes that NSW Labour without a leader as candidates tests the numbers. Gulf News says Saudi Arabia makes big changes to education system. And the Financial Times writes US inflation gauge jumps as recovery accelerates. The paper also says Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine approved for use in the UK. A quick look at the headlines once again. India suspends international passenger flights till the 30th of June in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. New Delhi rebuffs international daily reports claiming gaps in reporting of COVID-related deaths. Terms reporting completely false and baseless. GST Council decides to exempt levies on import of coronavirus relief material till the 31st of August. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds meeting with U.S. National Security Advisor on a wide range of issues, including Indo-Pacific. UNHRC approves resolution to investigate violence in recent conflict between Israel and Hamas. Bashar al-Assad re-elected as president of Syria for the fourth term, and Amit Panghal storms into finals of Asian Boxing Championship in Dubai. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let's listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Thailand. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of the World News.